We begin with the war in Ukraine. President Biden announced the U.S. will send the country an additional $800 million in security aid. That announcement comes just hours after Ukrainian President Zelenskyy appealed to Congress to send more help. President Biden called Russia's actions an atrocity and says the U.S. and its allies will work to ensure Ukraine is never a victory for Putin.
The world is united in our support for Ukraine and our determination to make Putin pay a very heavy price. America is leading this effort, together with our allies and partners, providing enormous levels of security and humanitarian assistance that we're adding to today, and we're going to continue to do more in the days and weeks ahead.
CBS News foreign correspondent Imtiaz Tyab joins us now. He's in Lviv, Ukraine, which is about 50 miles from the Polish border. President Biden announced that additional $800 million in security aid for Ukraine. It includes thousands of weapons. It includes rounds of ammunition. But what is President Zelenskyy asking for compared to what the U.S. is offering?
Hey, Scott, good to talk to you. Look, President Zelenskyy really wants to up his game when it comes to taking down Russian fighter jets, right? That's really what he wants. He wants the hardware to be able to do that. Now, he has some of it. Stinger, missiles do that sort of thing, but he wants more. But more importantly, it's very clear that Volodymyr Zelenskyy, who made this impassioned plea to the Congress earlier today, really just wants the world to know that this country is under attack and that he and his countrymen want to fight back with everything that they have, and more importantly, anything that they can get. And Scott, we've been here in Lviv for a few days now, and we had a chance to go to a place where your average Ukrainian of all ages, from all different professions, all different backgrounds, were getting training. They want to join this fight. And we were talking to one woman, Anastasia. She's 31 years old. She's newly married, her and her husband, and they were there receiving training. And she works in IT, and there she was being trained how to use a Kalashnikov rifle. A Kalashnikov rifle. Now, she says she doesn't want to have to use it. She doesn't want to have to fight. But that is really what we have here in Ukraine. You have a leader in Kiev who is refusing to leave, who is standing strong with his people. But more importantly, you have a people on the ground who say they're willing to fight with whatever they have, but they're looking for as much help as they can get. Scott.
President Zelenskyy was pretty emphatic today before Congress, pressing for that no-fly zone over Ukraine, something the West so far hasn't budged on. So without the aerial support, how is Ukraine managing to defend its own airspace?
It's tough, really, really tough. And it's become clearer and clearer to President Zelenskyy that he's going to keep asking for this no-fly zone, but that it's probably not going to happen. In fact, it most likely won't. We've seen his language change a little bit. He's called for a humanitarian no-fly zone, which effectively means that in areas which have seen some of the worst conflict and where we've seen people trapped and indeed targeted by Russian fighter jets and munitions, that these areas, we would somehow protect that airspace. How that works in practice is pretty hard to sort of consider, but that's what he's asking for right now. But I think in parallel to that, really what we're seeing is he wants to be as armed as humanly possible for his countrymen to continue to fight against that vastly powerful Russian air power. And it is vastly powerful. And although it's very clear that Russia's military wasn't prepared for this battle in the way that they thought they were, we all understood that they thought they could come into Ukraine with lightning speed, take over the capital, and it would be over. And that, of course, hasn't happened. We're now in the third week of fighting, entering the fourth week of fighting, and this fighting is continuing, and it is brutal. I mean, just you look at the devastation in so many parts of this country, and it really just beggars belief. But again, Ukrainians standing firm and standing tall against this Russian aggression. Scott.
During that fighting, Ukrainian officials have been accusing Russian forces of shelling civilians trying to flee Mariupol. What do we know about those claims?
It's awful and it's horrific. What we know is that a theater in Mariupol, where a lot of people, some upwards of around 100, if not more, were sheltering, were targeted in an airstrike. Some of those images are pretty horrific. That building pretty badly damaged because communication in Mariupol is so hard to get, and a lot of it is just completely inactive. We really don't have a very strong idea of what the situation is like on the ground, how many people injured, how many people may be dead. But the story of Mariupol is a story that we've heard in Kharkiv. It's a story that we're hearing in and around Kyiv as well. And the fear is that without any kind of meaningful dialogue that's going to see this fighting stop, we're just going to see this fighting spread and spread and spread around Ukraine. In fact, here in Lviv, where I am in the far west of the country, which is close to the border with Poland, it's been largely spared, or almost spared completely, from any real violence. But again, as we've been saying from the people that we've been meeting and talking to, they're preparing for anything. They're preparing for the worst. And that's why the people we met earlier today are trying to learn how to use rifles, trying to learn how to use grenades, and indeed anything they can in case they have to fight. Scott.
And President Zelenskyy tried to explain that reality to the West today, to Congress. Excellent work in Lviv. Imtiaz Tyab, thank you.
Pleasure.